Hello, my friend. If you clicked on this video, I just want to say that I'm really sorry you're feeling that way. If you're feeling lonely and disconnected at the moment, and just want to take a moment to acknowledge that, because that's how I'm feeling today. I've been feeling that way this morning, and I've made some art about it, and I want to share that with you because I think it's helpful. It's helped me. I actually feel much better this afternoon. So I feel your pain. Please have some compassion for yourself, because everybody feels this way at some stage and it's really hard in the moment. So I get it. So this morning I was just feeling really lonely and looking at plans that I've got coming up that just feel really empty because they don't involve anybody, and just feeling really disconnected from my local community. And it comes in waves. It's every now and then, and I know that about myself. I know that tomorrow I'll feel better and I just need to write it out. But when you're actually in that feeling in the moment, it can be quite all-consuming, and feelings of like longing and feeling like you're the only person who's ever felt alone like this before, and everybody else is having a great time and they're not lonely and they feel so fulfilled and full of love. No. None of that is true. The worst thing we can do is go online and see versions of everyone's best self and how amazing their lives are, because not everybody's having that moment at all the time. So how can art help? If I'm talking to a lonely version of me a couple of hours ago, I'll probably be rolling my eyes right about now, because I'm like, ugh, nothing is going to help get me out of this. I need a text from them, or whatever it is that you need to feel more connected again. So I'm here to give a stern word to past Rhiannon that actually, yeah, it does work, and it's helped me, and you will feel better after you do this. So I sat down and started to make some art about my feelings. And you've probably seen the video I've made on one of my daily prompts, which is feeling in the moment, or what I'm feeling at the time, and how I can use that as fuel to create from. And often I can get caught in this story that I just want to avoid the feeling. I just want it to go away. I want to distract myself. I don't want to make any art about it, because that can feel like I'm dwelling in it. I'm really immersing myself in the sadness or the loneliness or whatever it is, which sometimes can feel like counterintuitive, or that it's not helpful. And I want to acknowledge that there is a time and place for distraction, and there is a time and place for going deep and looking at the feeling and really confronting it. It's only when we get to that unbalanced area where it's distraction all the time and you're never addressing anything, and you just have this low-grade loneliness or low-grade anxiety or whatever it is in the background all the time, and you're never getting to it. Or on the flip side, where you're constantly dwelling in it and it turns into a much bigger sort of longing, or even a familiar pattern of behavior that eventually develops into your personality because you hold on to it for so long. So there are the unbalanced sort of shadowy sides of those things. So I guess the best thing is to have awareness of what your needs are right now. And maybe it is just distraction with this video about something you might do in the future, or not, and you'll just click off and go to something else. That's totally fine. But sometimes I find, actually most of the time, I find if I just acknowledge the feeling, sit down and be in it and let it come up and get out onto a piece of paper, it will leave me and I will feel better, or I'll feel differently. And I really value that. So I made 4 drawings this morning when I was in that sadness, when I was feeling lonely. And I've talked about this before, where it's often I just need a place to put my feelings. And sometimes that can't be other people or therapy or whatever it is that you'd normally put your feelings at. Sometimes it needs to be art. And actually I find that really helpful, because it can come up out of me onto the page and it stays there, and I've done something with it. I've moved the feeling through. The beauty about making art when you're feeling low or when you're feeling lonely particularly is, and this didn't come to me until afterwards, but it helps you to reconnect with yourself. And this is the part that my past self will be rolling her eyes at, because when you're making art, you are with yourself. You're connecting with you, you know. You're not alone, you're with yourself. So when making the art, you are hanging out with yourself. You're doing things together. You're acknowledging that you're having these feelings, and I guess by creating, you're kind of giving yourself that compassion that you need, and that potentially is what you would have looked for with a connection with other people. Here is the first one. We have loneliness in common. This is about a particular person, and this is me. And just feeling that connection of loneliness between us. Is that a thing? I also liked how I'd kind of set it up. It just appeared that it was more like a sky and a ground, and we're in between this world of loneliness. And then something about, you know, we're both looking up at the same sky, all of that kind of stuff. Oh, sad, 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 sad. This one, I just really quite liked the simplicity of it. There wasn't a lot of drawing involved, but it was really about this empty beach that really spoke to me, because it's a beautiful day here, and I was like, oh, I'll go to the beach, and thinking about how there's just nobody around, and you know, I have a weekend planned of no people to hang out with, so it was feeling like a very empty weekend with not a soul in sight. But you could reframe that to be like, well, is that freedom, or is it just a feeling of loneliness? You know, you can look at it from both sides depending on what's going on in your scenario. And then I put the Queen up here because I still love the Queen, and it sort of felt like a postcard a little bit. So the seagulls here are to symbolize the freedom, and the tears, well, you know what the tears are for. This one is one of those pieces of paper that I've made out of various pages from a magazine, so it's not actually a piece of paper behind it. But it's just this feeling of like, started out really quite light, and then it gets more and more dense and heavy as we go down, and it's sort of like, oh, you're right, it feels worse. I thought it was feeling okay, and then it wasn't feeling okay, because I'm getting stuck in glimmers of hope. These are my little glimmers in the murkiness. So kind of a sad one, but what's new? And then this final piece was just that sense of waiting, particularly when you're waiting for a message from somebody and it's not coming. And you just have to sit with it and remember or remind yourself that you have your own life. You know, don't sit inside and wait for it to come to you. Like, go out and enjoy whatever it is that you need in that moment, and don't wait for other people, because it's not a very fulfilling place to be in. I've noticed that I can feel more lonely when I've abandoned myself, in a sense, or I've disconnected from myself. You know, when I think about, well, what is it that I need to connect with somebody else about, or what am I looking for in a different person, and how can I give that to myself right now? And often it is when I have put my own life on hold, or stopped doing the things that I wanted to do. So art making is something that I love creating and doing for myself, and it's a way to really reconnect with me. So this is kind of a way of giving back to myself. Thank you for watching, my friend. It's so nice that you're here. I mean, it's not under great circumstances, but I really hope that you do go and make even just one piece of art, even just a post-it note about how icky it feels to have that loneliness sensation. Go and collage from a magazine or something where you can feel that inspiration, but it's directing that feeling out of you, up, out, and onto the page. Put it somewhere that's not sitting dense in your heart. I'm loving all your comments and likes, and thank you so much for being here. If you're new, then please like and subscribe, because it really helps me to know that this video has added even just a little bit of value to your life, and that means the world to me. It's funny, even like just a few hours after making this, I now have like this sense of compassion for my past self, like, oh, bless her, she was so sad and, you know, sitting alone and just feeling really down. And I feel like I've really moved through that just in the space of doing this, and I can kind of have some perspective. I can acknowledge it from afar. It's really nice. Oh, but she'll be back. She'll be back for sure.